Michael Saylor's company, Strategy, just purchased 487 Bitcoin. That's a nearly $50 million valuation in Bitcoin. They now hold 641,692 Bitcoin. That's $66 billion right now in Bitcoin. But guys, we're normally talking about AI and automation, how it's impacting the workforce. But why do we do that? We do that because in order to survive, in order for men like us to survive in this new world, to survive and thrive, we need to remain relevant, respected, and financially free. And a big part of that financial freedom is making sure our money is working for us and finding opportunities and investing. And so, guys, today I just want to briefly touch on Bitcoin because I've been watching and looking at Bitcoin for several years. So I'm going to briefly explain how I see Bitcoin and what I'm doing personally. But I think this is important because right now there's 220 million people with Bitcoin. There's a $2.2 trillion market cap, and it has become a pretty safe store of value. Now, again, I'm not a financial advisor or investor. I'm just a guy that thinks that it's important to be financially educated. So today we're going to go into some of these topics. We're going to talk about the brief history of my history with Bitcoin, the potential risks, how it could really go wrong. I'm going to tell you my personal strategy moving forward. And then finally, I'm going to give you a question, probably the most important question when it comes to Bitcoin. So if you stick around to the end, you can hear that. And by the way, I want to hear your thoughts, your insights, your inputs. I read all the comments. So hearing from you and how you're managing this stuff is really helpful to me. It's really helpful you don't know who in the comments is going to read your comment and could be really impacted by what you have to say. There's some very intelligent people in the comments. So I appreciate you guys leaving your inputs and insights. So at any rate, I want to just briefly explain my history with Bitcoin. So in 2018, January 2018, I started buying Bitcoin. It was just after a spike, just earlier, the couple months earlier in 2017, there was a pretty big spike. And I bought Bitcoin. It was $13,446.90 per coin at that time. And I remember at that time, people were saying Bitcoin is way too expensive. You missed the boat. It's too much. What are you doing? This is fake internet money. It's done. And at that time, it seemed like to me, cash, dollars, all this money is already digital, A, but B, it just seemed like a runaway train, debt, inflation had started to inflation didn't really start ramping up until COVID. But regardless, it just seemed to make sense to me. The blockchain, safe, secure, I can take my wallet anywhere with me as long as I remember the code in my head. And it made sense to me. But people were just like, Mark, it's been trading for $100 or $200 the last 5 years, and now it's 13,000? You missed it. Well, you missed it. What are you doing? But I bought it, and I kept buying it. And right after I had purchased that, the Bitcoin dropped to as low as 3,200. And people said, Mark, bad investment. That was stupid. You bought it 13, now it's worth 3. But I kept buying. March of 2021, 3 years later, Bitcoin hit a new high of $59,000. Then it dropped down to 33K, then up to 62K, up and down, but constantly moving up since then. And then in September, just a couple of months ago, Bitcoin hit a new high of $124,000. And now it's kind of settled down into about the 105 range. And listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Bitcoin is going to the moon or that I know the future. I don't, okay? But what I think is interesting is that every time I talk to someone about Bitcoin, they almost always say, I wish I had gotten in earlier. Every time. And by the way, you buy Bitcoin, it doesn't make a difference to me. I really don't care. I don't have a dog in the fight, okay? But I know that since I had first really gotten on my radar, back in 2018, I bought it and I held it and I kept buying it. I'm not a day trader, but it's just interesting to me how many people say it's done, it's too late, I missed it. Just a rule in life, guys. This is not, again, financial advice, because FOMO is a real deal. If you get FOMO and that can be dangerous. You can lead to bad decisions. don't have fear of missing out, just make educated decisions and watch channels like this and do research before making big decisions. But there's this idea that I think paralyzes men like us, and it's this idea that there's two. The first is which you say, well, it's too late for me now. I'm too old. I can't learn new things. I missed my chance. All this stuff. Bullocks. I call bullcrap. You can still be in the best shape of your life. You can still get to a new height. You can still learn new things. You can still achieve a new goal. I have a goal with my daughter. We have a pact that one day we're going to travel to the moon together. And I don't care if I'm 50 or 60, we're going to the moon, you don't tell yourself that it's too late. And then the other lie that I think we tell ourselves is, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow. And that's the other lie. You say, yeah, no, that's a great idea. I'm a Christian. And one of the ideas about what makes the devil so smart is he'll say stuff like, yeah, sure, God's real, and sure, you need to change, but do it tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. And you see that across the field, like, I'll stop drinking tomorrow. Oh, I'll stop doing this, but not today. I'll do that tomorrow. Guys, tomorrow means never in a lot of cases. But again, I'm getting a little off topic. I want to talk to you a little bit more about Bitcoin. Again, this is not like go out and buy all the Bitcoin you can. I just wanted to give you my personal experience with Bitcoin. Okay, and one of the things, I want to talk just for a quick moment about compounding interest. Albert Einstein said that compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world. And if you were to, just to give you a quick number here, if you were to put $10,000 into an account that gave you an 8% return, which is not unreasonable if you're investing in like the S&P 500, after 10 years, that 10K would be 21,000. 20 years, it would be 46,000. 30 years, it would be 100,000. And in 40 years, that 10K would have turned into 217,000. Compounding interest is real. And if you are not investing, this is not even Bitcoin related, if you're not investing in the stock market, if you're not investing in your 401k, if you're not investing at all, you are planning to fail, guys. Social Security is completely bankrupt. It's upside down. Do not rely on government programs to bail you out, boys. We don't have that luxury. We're fathers, we're husbands, we're leaders in our community. You want to be financially free, you need to be making at least some sort of investments. Now, do not wait on that, okay? I know what you're gonna say, but Mark, I don't have enough money, the cost of everything is high. I hear you. Find a way to put some money away, okay? Don't do it for me, do it for you. Because one day your future self is going to thank you. Especially if you're a young kid. By the way, I was asked by a high school teacher to go into their high school class. They were running a financial class for kids that are juniors and seniors. And so I go to this school. It's a public school. Not the nicest of neighborhoods. This is down in South Florida. And at the time I had been in insurance. So one of the questions I wanted to ask the class was, hey, credit rating, because credit rating impacts insurance rates to an extent. We did vehicle loans. Regardless, I was able to speak to two different classes. They had about 35 kids in each class. And I said, how many of you know what a credit rating is? 0%. There was not one kid who knew what a credit rating was. And that to me was disastrous. Our schools are teaching all kinds of stuff, but you can't teach basic finance. You can't teach a 16, 17, 18-year-old kid what a credit rating is, what interest is, what compounding interest is. Guys, that to me is completely unacceptable. So why do I bring this up? A, if you're a young man, if you're a kid, if you're watching this, you're gonna be in great shape because you're already learning and you're investing your time wisely. But B, as parents, as a father, do not abdicate your power and your responsibility to random teachers in schools. It's up to us as men to make sure that kids understand these concepts. Very, very important. Very, very important. By the way, I'm gonna get back to crypto in 1 second, but I just wanna give you one quick story. I was doing a garage sale the other day, and I was cooking, because I wanna teach my kids, okay? So I told my daughter, you wanna have a lemonade stand? We're having a garage sale, you can sell lemonade, okay? But what I'm going to do is, I'm gonna do you a favor. I'm gonna buy your lemonade, and so that you can sell it, and I'm going to cook pulled pork for free. I'm going to smoke a big pork Boston butt. So I smoked it all night, got up in the morning, cost me $30 for the pulled pork. It cost me $10 for lemonade, so $40 total. Did all that. Next day, I was passing out the free pulled pork, and then my daughter would come along and say, hey, you've got your free pulled pork. How about some lemonade too? It's $5 a glass. She made $100, okay? Afterwards, I told her these are what your expenses are. $10, you know, I charge her half for the pulled pork because, you know, I was eating some and there was other things we were doing. So anyway, it's like $15 for the pulled pork, that's half the pulled pork, and then $10 for the lemonade. I also explained to her interest, nothing there. We talked about tithing, we talked about investing. So she was able to learn a lesson hands-on with the dollars that she made. And I would encourage you to make sure your kids understand these concepts because they are important. They're very, very important. Okay, cool. So how does this all relate back to Bitcoin and being financially free? Okay. As I mentioned before, people are always saying the Bitcoin is done. And it is not, it keeps going. Big companies are investing, I mean, huge amounts of money in Bitcoin, trillions of dollars. And, you know, I'm not gonna go into all the benefits of Bitcoin, but I wanna talk about a couple risks. These are the things that I think about, okay? There are some advantages like decentralization and anonymity and trustless trust and stuff like that, okay? I also like the idea that you can't shut off Bitcoin. As long as you have the code in your head, as long as you have your digital wallet in your head, you can transact anywhere. Like for example, if you needed to move countries really quickly and you didn't have, you couldn't bring cash or credit cards or anything like that, you can bring Bitcoin with you. As long as you have memorized your wallet address, you can bring it anywhere in the world that you like at any time and you can still transact. I think that's pretty cool, okay? But there are a couple major risks. The first of which, and by the way, we're gonna get to my personal strategy, what I'm doing financially, and then I'm gonna give you the ultimate question. By the way, if you're enjoying this video, smash like, smash subscribe. I'm bringing you videos 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday. So there's two major risks to Bitcoin, the two things that make me nervous about it. The first of which is some sort of catastrophic regulatory environment, like banning crypto outright or banning crypto. The second of which is quantum computing, and we'll get to that in just a moment. I am not that concerned about the first, about massive regulatory, because there's so much money, there's so much power invested into Bitcoin. I just don't see a way that you could do that. It's also historically, you know, listen, there's a reason why Bitcoin was used to trade and smuggle and do black market transactions, because it's very, very hard to track and there's a lot of anonymity. So I'm not that worried about that. Quantum computing does make me a little bit nervous. And the reason why is because computers and AI are just getting exponentially more powerful every day. And BTC, Bitcoin, works on trust using the blockchain and using digital signatures, specifically elliptical curve digital signature algorithm. And theoretically, quantum computing could get so fast and so powerful that it could potentially break that system. That is a risk. That is a risk. Keep that in mind. So let's kind of bring this all full circle down to what I'm doing personally. And I'd love to hear from you. Again, I'm a hodler. I'm not a day trader. I've got a lot of stuff that I'm working on, and I just don't have the bandwidth or the desire to day trade, okay? First thing, take on debt, pay off debt quickly. I don't like paying interest. Pay off your highest interest, paying off all my interest first. I max out any 401k every year. In the past, I'm self-employed now, working on different businesses, so I don't have an employer, but anytime my employer offered a comp match on 401k, max it out every single year. Why do you max it out? Why is it maxed out? Well, because the US government doesn't want you collecting too much on it. You know, they max it out because the benefits are so good. So anyway, max that out. And then investing, basically I'm investing every single day. I'm putting a little bit of money into the stock market every single day. And not always a lot, $10 here. My goal is at least $10 a day is going into investments. And sometimes it's more, but that's kind of my benchmark, right? Generally speaking, 10% of your income should be going. So anyway, 10% of your income should be going into investments, right? So that's where I'm at. And a lot of it is Bitcoin, guys. I've been buying Bitcoin a long time. And quite frankly, personally, I'm not going to stop because I just believe in it. I believe in the blockchain. I believe in the trustless trust system. There's so much money in it right now. It makes sense. Inflation is out of control. There's so much spending going on. It seems like, you know, maybe the old OPEC oil system could fail. Like, who knows? But I just believe in it. And you might say, Mark, you're crazy. You can put it in the comments below. But that's what I do. That's what I do. By the way, if you haven't invested in before, this is just a shameless plug. I'm going to post an affiliate link below to Robinhood. Robinhood is the platform that I use to trade. If you use my link below, you're going to get a free $10 trade. I'll get $10 in my trading account. Not a big deal, but I'll put it below if you want to check that out. And even if you don't use Robinhood, again, it doesn't really make a big difference to me. I would love it if you use my link. That's fantastic. But at the end of the day, guys, there's no cost to you. You can use it. It's no cost to you. You just get free. You just get free stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to invest something somewhere, okay? Because if the plan is Social Security is going to be there, don't count on it. Take responsibility for yourself now. Okay, we're getting to the end here. Final question for you, and perhaps the most important question of all, okay? And put your comments below. I read them all. Remember, Bitcoin. Do you think it's going to go to $0, or do you think it's going to go to $1 million? What do you think? Do you think it's more likely to go to $1 million or to 0? I know my answer. And I think I've made that clear. But what do you think? Is it going to 0 or $1 million? Put it in the comments below. All right, boys, I'll see you in the next video. And if you did miss yesterday's video, check it out. We're talking about the secret behind all these humanoid robots. All these humanoid robots going out, there is a secret that most people don't know. You can check out right here and figure out what is going on with these humanoid robots. All right, boys, peace.